it's Dana. It's Sunday. It's the start of the second 10-round series. I don't know. I don't know why I decided to say that, but if I think about it in 5 rounds of 10, this is episode 11. And I'm really thrilled I didn't get to talk to her before she hopped on. But a high school classmate of mine who I don't really think I've probably physically spoken to since we graduated from high school is joining me because she does some pretty interesting work all around some of what we're talking about. So please join me in welcoming my long ago friend, Jess Klinger, to this.
Hello.
Hi, Jess.
Thank you for having me.
My gosh, thanks for joining me. This is one of the things that's been really fun about this is that I have gotten to talk to people I maybe hardly ever get to talk to. So that's a good excuse to do it if for no other reason.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you. It's nice to see you and supporting all that you do. I do follow you on LinkedIn and
Well, I
all the social
appreciate
media
that.
platforms you can.
I feel the same about you, Jess. You have had a really interesting career. You live in the San Francisco area. You've worked for some really high-tech companies, and now you're with TikTok.
Yes. Super excited.
So tell me, because I don't do anything with TikTok because I feel that I am about 35 years too old for TikTok. So talk to us about what you wrote to me about, which is really this idea of being in our age, time in life, and working in places like TikTok, which feel like they're for 12-year-olds. Obviously, you don't have 12-year-olds working at TikTok. So talk about the work that you do there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting evolution of me, really. I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles before this and working in entertainment and working in motion picture and television and all of those different types of things. And I still had, like, as my age, my father and my mother had sort of instilled this Protestant work ethic in me and saying, like, you stay in one job for 30 years and you only, you'll get promoted because they'll see your worth. And I discovered at age, middle age, and as my dad passed away and things like that really wasn't an accurate view of the workforce now. And I had to sort of evolve and sort of change my sort of trajectory and figure out what I really wanted to do and also learn the language of different generations. And it's been a great evolution. And how I started in entertainment is still kind of how I got to TikTok, is to be sort of my view of work as I'm scrappy. I basically will do anything that you ask me to, even if it's out of my job description. It's allowed me to do production. It's allowed me to work live events. It's allowed me to work on fashion reviews. It's allowed me to work on different types of things because I was willing to do it when nobody else would. And because the company was still evolving, whether it be E Entertainment or Paramount Pictures or any of those types of things, they were developing processes. And that's how I got into sort of developing processes for business affairs. And my last job at CBS before I moved into tech was, sort of creating a file system for both production attorneys and people that did the Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon deals. So it was sort of like, it kind of, I didn't realize it, but I was developing my own career path. And then I went to, my dad passed away and I was ready to move out of Los Angeles. I was, after 30 years of getting lateral promotions. So I saw something on the Onion that said, like, she worked her way laterally through the company and people are really pissed off about it. So it's just sort of like, that's how I feel about, like, my career in entertainment. And it was just, I reached out to Andrew, who you've had on here before, and he is a friend of mine, and his and my background are the sense of, like, working politics together and things like that, and some of the musical stuff that we did when we were younger. And he said, well, I've got something at Uber and I think you might be good for it. And so I interviewed at Uber, and it was just, everybody got my vision and sort of like how I developed my sort of developing processes through companies and making sure that things are streamlined and no red tape and those kinds of things. And they got what I was trying to do. And I joined the rides team. Andrew didn't want to have a decision-making process on that because he was my friend. So he just, like, if you guys want her, I can't, opine on that. So, and he's like, and they picked me. And then 6 months after my dad passed, I moved to San Francisco and started off on the rides team, and then moved into sort of the core tech team, which is sort of the guts of the app in the sense of like doing mapping, making that mapping streamlining better when you're in the app and trying to figure out where your car is, and working on, the app in the sense of, pushing out, those terms and conditions that you see that you have to click yes on. Those are the kinds of things that I'd be working on. And then we went post IPO, and our Uber.com terms and conditions were not great because they were pre-IPO and they were just a mess in countries that we wouldn't even service and all that kind of stuff. And then they had me bring me in, and I sort of revamped that whole site and then developed a SOX compliant process to audit and make it self-serving, sort of uploading the terms and conditions that you see today. So then after that, TikTok came recruiting, and they were like, we like what you do. We are, in the days of like now what the Twitter is going through is like content moderation is key. And it's sort of like I went into the division there where we deal with the tooling that handles the content moderation, whether it be taking down things that are copyright and trademark violations, or if there's sketchy material, or if there's hate speech or that violates our terms and conditions. That's the tooling I work on now. So that's what led me to TikTok. And I had not seen TikTok prior. I had not been a TikTok user either. It's past our age, but I am now. So it's actually quite fascinating, and I love the algorithm and what it surfaced me. I started off with dancing bunnies, and
yeah, well,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that other people our age are certainly using it, but so Jess, talk about this middle age thing that you recently presented on, because that's fascinating.
Yeah, I noticed throughout my career is like as generations came into the workforce, I had to change my communication style in a lot of different ways. I came from my father and mother were first, third generation Americans and had a certain view on life in the world. My father was a prosecutor turned attorney in town, and my mother was a nurse, and she's still working as a nurse. So it's sort of like they were raising me into being direct and independent, and my communication style was formed from my father in the sense of like just one and done communications, like just get it out there, be done with it, whatever have you. No formality, no sort of like it's just be straight to the facts and be done with it. And I used that style up until probably Paramount. And then I realized this new generation was like they found it harsh, and they found it sort of like they took it personally when it wasn't personal. It was just, it was not intended. And also because I'm a woman, I mean, there's a whole other level of that too that goes on. But to sort of change my communication style to cater to like more pleases and thank yous, and I think your idea is great, but we should go here instead. Just catering to the fact that their thoughts are just as important as my thoughts, even though they were to me. I just wasn't communicating that across. And also with generations, each generation is influenced by some sort of external factor, whether it be the 9/11 kids that had like helicopter parents going forward, and those kinds of things that are happening in the world. I can only imagine what the kids are going to be like entering the workforce that are starting with the COVID. But each generation offers something great and offers a challenge for those that are in the workforce for quite some time to sort of adjust to. And the work-life balance became more prevalent as it was than what it was when I was younger. The work, and I value that. They like to have days off. They know they work hard, but they also have a balance. There's things like freezing eggs and, to give birth. I never thought of that when I was, younger or whatever have you, but they're consciously thinking about life and work now as a balance, and I've never been able to do that. And as a result, I've changed my communication style, and I'm also feeling more valued in the workplace just because that communication style has changed, where my ideas are being heard. They value me even though I'm 50 years old. They value my thoughts and opinions and different types of things. Some things do show up in the reviews though, where I'm kind of like, well, you understand I'm 50, right? Like where it's just like, we had to repeat something to you once or twice. I'm like, well, my brain is a little slower. We learn through repetition, right? So I wish I could be as sharp as I was when I'm 20, but brains decline starting at 20. So it's sort of like you have these adjustments of this subconscious sort of ageism, but they don't realize that it is. But you have to sort of educate back and forth. Like each generation has something wonderful to offer. They're changing the workforce for the better. And you adjust. So that's basically what I've learned through my process.
Well, it's really fascinating. The other thing I think, just in terms of you working in a field like this, is we're not digital natives. We have really
Mm-hmm.
clear memories of sitting by a rotary telephone,
Yep.
hoping it will ring,
Yep.
having no idea who's on the other side of it, having to wait for someone to hang up the phone to get a call. I mean, just some stuff that today's 25-year-olds have really no idea of, or very, very, very faint memories of. So it's a fascinating time. And maybe every generation thinks what I think about us, but it does feel like the exponential growth of technology and the speed with which it is evolving is just like we're in ludicrous speed all the time. So I cannot imagine being in the world that you are in, with a platform really designed for youth to try to be navigating that. So I'm always fascinated by what you have to say online. And then, as a completely secondary, totally shallow note, I'm gobsmacked by your fingernails. My
Everybody
God,
is.
your fingernails are ridiculous. Works of art every time you post them. So it's been fun to, I would
Yeah,
not have
I've got
guessed
like a
about you. Yeah, you have beautiful fingernails. You have some sort of off the chart manicurist who does incredible art on them. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really amazing. So, Jess, let me ask you a question I'm asking most people. What's been most joyful about being 50? You haven't been 50 for very long. You're just a couple months older than I am. But what's
Yeah,
been most joyful?
it's been interesting. I've made a sort of a shift in my life, and um in my personal life as a result. I started dating again. I never thought I'd want to do that. I never thought I'd want to have children. Those kinds of things that I never thought. I've just kind of made that shift around. And I'm
Okay.
learning things about myself as a result of that that I never thought about before, because it wasn't part of, like, I just pushed it away. I was just like, I'm focusing on my career. This is where I want to build my little empire. I'm fine alone, those kinds of things. And now I'm like, wait, I have an anxious attachment style. What does this mean? And just like those kinds of things, and like learning that that came from very young age, and just like random things like that that are just, now I'm like, at 50 I learned this, and now I'm changing patterns. I'm still growing at 50. I'm still evolving at 50, discovering that I want different things along the way, whether it be career or in personal life or whatever have you. And it's okay to make those shifts and be comfortable in your discomfort, and realize you're still going to be okay. So that's what I've learned at 50, is like, major changes can still happen, and roll with it.
I love that. I love that. I mean, really, if we've got, let's say we've got 30 really good years left, why in the world would you want to say, well, now I'm set? This is what it's going to look like for 30 years.
Yeah,
That sounds terrible.
it does.
So I love that that you added in saying, yeah, let's push on, let's evolve. Because what are we doing if we're not moving forward?
Mhm.
We're just sitting still, and that's not interesting at all.
Yeah.
So what's next for you, Jess?
I started dating, which has been a really an interesting thing. That's been a really,
Can't imagine.
I don't, I waffle between like screw the patriarchy to like, oh, I like guys. So it's sort of like that dynamic is
Yeah.
existing in my brain right now, but it's like, that's been a challenge, but it's been exciting. It's been a rewarding challenge. I'm looking at every challenge like it is. I thought I wanted to retire in Scotland, where I wanted to have two sheep named Mitzi and Kevin, and then I was going to live in the Scottish Highlands and things like that. Still not out of the idea, but I'm looking into that as well. And because you don't have to pay property tax there, so it works out well. And then, but Portugal also looks nice as well. I'm just kind of, I think with my career is like, one also thing that I've learned from people at a young age is that you can switch around. Like, getting promoted in tech means sometimes going to another company and then going back to the same company and getting a better job. So it's not that same like trajectory of like, it's okay to move around. It's okay to do those kinds of things. You're going to be just fine, and not stress about it. It's knowing, like, as a 50-year-old, that you're going to be okay, even if it's uncomfortable. So,
It's amazing. It's a great reminder, Jess, and easier to say than to do. So I applaud you for doing it.
thank you. Thank you. And you,
And
how
I'm
are you?
sorry that
How
we're
are you?
having
What are you
some tech.
excited about? Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's good. What am I excited about? I'm excited about, you know what? I'm excited about these conversations. I started this a little bit on a lark,
Mhm.
as I do with most things in my life, not a planner and a strategist. And they have really given me great food for thought. So I'm excited to see, well, what do I do with these 50 conversations when they're wrapped up? And how might they turn into something above and beyond this 50-day iteration? What else could they be? So that's exciting to me, to just keep pushing my creative side, to keep thinking about getting uncomfortable or getting comfortable in discomfort. I'm pretty comfortable there, but sort of living in a place of yeah, but, and just say it's now or never.
Right. That's great.
The worst thing that can happen is you fail. I can survive some failure.
Failure is what pushes you through. Even my mother said when I was even younger, and she still says it today, is like, you know what? I hate when parents tell their kids that they just want them to be happy. That's not realistic. The joy and learning and all of that stuff comes from the discomfort and the failure and all of those things. You're happy maybe 20% of the time, but that's not a realistic goal, and be okay with being, learning and failing. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the perfect place to stop, Jess. It's a great piece of advice, whether you're 5 or 15 or 50 or 75. So thank you for joining me. Continued good luck on
yeah,
your path. I will continue to watch
and
it
you too.
because it's so fascinating to me when I think back to you in high school. I don't think this is where I would have put you. I don't know where I would have put you, but I love that you're here and doing this work and doing it really publicly. I love it. So thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you
Everyone
for having
else,
me as part
I
of your
will see
journey.
you.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. It
It's
was great to
amazing.
connect. Let's not wait 50 more years, Jess.
No, stay in touch, please. I'm anything you need, I'm here. So
Thank you. Everyone else, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.